The fantasy football finals are here. Week 17 is here. Most of you in the fantasy football finals have monster teams. I understand that. But there are some of you, and even if, your team is insane, it's still nice to know the best matchups. The best game environments. There are some of you who are looking at the waiver wire for answers in the flex position. Maybe you had a Quinshon Judkins. Maybe someone else is out, right? I'm here to tell you that there are players on the waivers, guys. Like, normally this is our stash episode where we look ahead to waivers next week, kind of predicting who's going to do well, who's available. We're doing that now, okay? And what better place to start for players you can pick up and play than the Cincinnati Bengals run defense, allowing 28.2 fantasy points per game according to Fantasy Pros, most among all teams. Now, this is a picture of Michael Carter. As you can see, he is rostered in 51% of leagues, guys. So we're more so going to be talking about Emari Demercado, who I've been kind of banging the drum for him for a couple weeks now. Not much to love here in the game log department. I understand that. Okay? Got injured week 11, missed 3 games, came back with week 15 against Houston, 4 opportunities. Last week, 6 opportunities, but we saw the snaps grow. All right, 11 when he first came back, 32% last week, about a third of snaps. These 2 games here, weeks 9 and 10, kind of out of the bye, clearly had a shift, right, in the offense. Trey Benson was still hurt. He was playing around 40% of snaps. In those 2 games, guys, averaged 11 and a half opportunities. If you give Demercado 10 opportunities against the Bengals here, say 10 of 30 total running back opportunities. Let's just say that. Maybe it's 12 of 30. Maybe it's 13. Maybe it's 9. Okay? I think there's a very realistic chance where he goes and scores you 10 fantasy points in PPR. I'm pretty interested in Demercado off the waivers. I want him on my team for sure if you're playing week 18, right? I just want to see what he has. But this week, guys, at Cincinnati, I mean, it's just the matchup is there. So if you are literally in the mud, he's available in 90% of leagues, and he could make a difference for you, okay? Now, again, most of these guys we talk about today are going to be pretty far-fetched. We're looking at deep league targets. We're looking at guys who really could step in. And for those of you who don't need these players, it's helpful to know the matchups, okay? Chase Brown on the other side of the ball, playing the Cardinals. The Cardinals, 24.7 fantasy points allowed to the running back position. The running back position for the Bengals also includes Samaje Perine. Again, available 90% of leagues, guys, 89% of leagues, he's available. Very similar to Demercado. I'd actually put Perine probably ahead of him because we've seen now in 3 of the last 4 games, okay? How do I say this? 10 plus opportunities, double-digit opportunities in 3 of the last 4 games. Last week, 10 opportunities. The week before that, 15. The week before that, only 7. And the week before that, 16. Against Arizona, let's just say he gets, 40% of those opportunities. You see his snaps floating. 40%, 37%, 45%, 39%, right? Close to half of that, we're looking at, again, double-digit fantasy points. So I think Perine this week at home against Arizona, the Bengals are going to be on one, all right? I'm in. Okay, this could be a very sneaky, high-scoring game. I think he can be started in PPR especially. Moving right along. The Cowboys play Washington on Christmas Day, I believe. You see Washington here, top 6, top 7 matchup for running backs, 23.8 fantasy points allowed to the running back position. Obviously, Javonte is in a smash spot, but 57% of snaps last week, not his typical workhorse role. Who does that open the door for? Opens the door for Malik Davis. If he sees double-digit carries on the ground, could definitely make something pop. A few weeks ago, I believe it was week 13. Yeah, I think it was where he had that long touchdown run. So he's shown some flashes. Okay. He's available in about every league. 7% rostered, 93% available on Sleeper. Mainly, if you have Javonte, you should have Malik as a handcuff. But at this point in the season, there's a good chance Malik gets dropped. And this is going to sound so stupid. But for a guy like Tom Brady on waivers, who people want to bring on their team to get a ring, picking up James Robinson to get a ring, right? Oh, let me drop Malik Davis. I don't need him anymore. Little do you know, you're sitting there, you don't have a flex. Maybe, just maybe, Malik Davis can sub in, give you some value. I like him a little bit more in half PPR than PPR. Only 1 game here. since week 11 with any targets. He had 3 in week 15. So again, these are very, very deep players. Very deep. Maybe you're in a deep dynasty league, right? So just keep these guys in mind. And understand also, the other side of this is that Javonte has an awesome matchup, and 60% of snaps should really do well for him. Move along to a bit more of an obvious one. It is Chris Rodriguez, available in half of leagues. He gets the Dallas matchup this week, 21.9 fantasy points allowed to the running back position. He should be awesome. Conversely, there are 2 other running backs on the Commanders. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 8 carries last week, got in the end zone. So even though he's not very involved, he plays when the team needs a spark. Like, it kind of reminded me of when Mike Evans was getting reintegrated into the offense after injury. He only had 55% of snaps, but 12 targets. If Bill is on the field, he's probably getting the rock. It's kind of how they use him. 20% of snaps, 8 opportunities scored last week, all on the ground. Jeremy McNichols kind of does the stuff through the air for this team. So in PPR against Dallas, I don't like him as much as Bill, and I don't love Bill, okay? But just giving you guys options if you are desperate and you need it. And understand, too, that Chris Rodriguez is in an awesome spot. He's like my RB16 this week in my rankings. Let me just check, actually. Do I still have that up? I do not have that up. Anyway, where's he ranking in consensus right now? Chris Rodriguez. Where are you, Chris Rodriguez? He's all the way down here, guys. RB31. Way too low. Should be around here, around the Josh Jacobs, Ken Walker, Jalen Warren area. And that's a half-healthy Josh Jacobs, mind you, okay? Moving along to the wide receiver position, and it's about to get ugly, boys. This is about to get... We're having a lot of fun on the episode today. That is what I will say, because this is heinous. Treylon Burks, season high last week, 83% of snaps. Season high last week, 5 targets. Who does he play this week? The Dallas Cowboys, who are allowing 34.6 fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. Marcus Mariota is expected to be out. So do Debo and Terry McLaurin try their hardest? Do Debo and Terry McLaurin even play in this game? I'm not sure, right? I'm recording this Tuesday night. So keep an eye on Treylon Burks. If you see that those players start to be out, you could have Josh Johnson to Treylon Burks. 6, 7, 8 targets in this game. I mean, that would give you flex value, hypothetically. Again, if you need a Hail Mary, 0% rostered, it's as deep as it gets. Deep as it gets. With that being said, Debo, Terry, if they're playing, even though, it's Josh Johnson, I'm totally fine playing those guys in my lineup. I really am. Continuing with, just some ugly names. Like I said, we're having fun today. It is Jalen Nailor. We're getting Max Brosmer again here in week 17. Absolutely hate that for our Vikings receivers, but when you're playing the Lions, 31.6 fantasy points allowed per game to the position, second most. Jalen Nailor has actually had some flashes here. He floats around 60% of snaps, but he does have a couple boom games in here. 23 points in week 10, 19.5 points in week 15 against Dallas, so he takes advantage of those bad secondaries. Week 10 was against Baltimore when they were bad. Week 15 was against Dallas. So Detroit is not very good. If Brosmer's going to him, let's get it then. You could hypothetically in these deep leagues where these guys are not rostered and you are looking at a guy versus Houston, you're looking at a guy versus whoever, versus the Broncos, take a look at these guys. There's only 1 week left, so don't be afraid, okay? Don't do anything stupid and ask me in the Discord down below. Join the Discord, ask me any question you have, but don't be afraid to get a little crazy, play a good matchup. Speaking of, Kendrick Bourne coming off 70% of snaps, it's the most we've seen since week 9. He was going through some injury. He's back, ramped up. He's looking like the wide receiver too on the Niners. The Niners play Chicago. 30.2 fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers. Third most. Obviously, you have Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings had 6 targets. Kendrick Bourne, 5 targets. So you literally could play Kendrick Bourne, in my opinion, especially if George Kittle is out. And you could also play Jake Tonjes. All right. Kendrick Bourne is an interesting name to me. Actually, that's like a legit name. I'd prefer Bourne over Nailor and obviously Burks. Okay. Bourne is rostered in 10% of leagues. We have 2 more wide receivers to talk about. Parker Washington was picked up a ton this week, and he should be. Guys, looking at these games, his most recent games when healthy will start all the way back in week 7. Here are his target numbers. Okay. 10, 9, 7, only 2 in week 11, then 7. Okay. Then he's hurt, and then 10. That's really good. I mean, low key, he's like playing the Travis Hunter breakout role here for the Jaguars, where you have BTJ, You got Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington. Everyone's eating, and more times than not, BTJ is the odd man out, okay? Parker Washington, only 56% of snaps in week 16, 10 targets. What's going to happen when that jumps to 70, 80%, like we were seeing here weeks 9 through 12 when he was... This is a legit flex here, guys, if you're looking on the screen. Weeks 9 through 12, 17 points, 18 points. A bust game at 4 points, 18.1 points. Before the bye, week 7, 10.2 points. Parker Washington really should be, honestly, like in lineups. Playing the Colts, allowing the 4th most points to opposing wide receivers, 30.1 points, guys. He should be in lineups. I want any piece of T-Law I can get. Pause. All right. Tre Tucker. The Giants, 29.5 fantasy points allowed per game to opposing wide receivers. Not much wide receiver action going on for Tre Tucker or for the Raiders. It's a lot of Tre Tucker. So 5 targets on the Raiders at that position. That's a lot. 4 catches. He had 43 yards last week, but this is against Houston. So put him in a good matchup. And you could see Tre Tucker kind of come alive, played every single snap, 100% of snaps on the field. It's basically Bowers, Tucker, and Genty. One of them is getting the ball. And against the Giants, who have basically, they're done playing football this year, Tre Tucker's a very interesting name this week if you are desperate, right? Again, all these guys are if you're desperate, if you need something, and I'm just tuning you in on some of the better matchups. So, for example, if you have Brock Bowers this week, I'd be pretty hyped, okay? Moving into the tight ends, and we can talk about some streamers, but first, I just want to give due credit to our GOAT here, Trey McBride, who is going against the Bengals, and 18.6 fantasy points allowed. Next closest to the position allowed, 14.4, are the Dolphins, okay? So Trey McBride is playing the Bengals this week. I mean, this is a top 10 overall player for me this week. Top 10. First rounder if we redrafted today, if you will. So Trey McBride, congrats. Now, that's obviously not a deep sleeper, but Cade Otton is an interesting guy at Miami. The Bucks are playing for a lot, just hasn't gone their way this year. Pretty sure they're close to, if not eliminated from playoff contention, but when I say they're playing for a lot, I just don't see Baker kind of going out there and half-assing it, if you will. So I think Cade Otton can be streamed. We're going to look at other streamer options. I do want to mention Harold Fannin real quick. He plays the Steelers, who are allowing the 3rd most fantasy points per game, 13.9. He's averaging 10-plus targets in the last 3 games. All right, real quick before we close down here, I want to look at the Fantasy Pros rankings, guys. All right, and just see where some interesting streamers are mentioned. And forgive me, of course, it's going to show the guys available in my league and whatnot. As you can see, I am a Bowers owner, a very proud Bowers owner myself. Now, in terms of streaming options, for example, in my league, Brenton Strange is available. He's a priority streamer. Brenton Strange, I'm playing him over Jake Ferguson. I'm playing him over Dalton Schultz. He's right here in this Kyle Pitts tier for me. Brenton Strange. I want every piece of this Jaguars offense, this T-Law I can get, seriously. Colston Loveland, very interesting name. Would move him inside the top 10. Bump down Ferguson, bump down Schultz, okay? Dallas Goedert, whatever, is kind of boom bust, but Buffalo Bills are very good against the tight end. Okay, so Brenton Strange, well over Goddard. Colston Loveland, probably over Goddard for me. I know that's crazy. And I do think Tyler Warren is very low in these tight end rankings here. 9 targets last night. Now, I know he only caught 2 or 3 of them, but he's very low. I also think Colby Parkinson is going to be dropped in a ton of leagues. And it was very disappointing last week, but still hovering around 85, 90% of snaps. I think he can be played. I think there's a lot of answers at the tight end position this week. My rankings will be posted on X at JoeRicoFF. They're always live in the Discord, guys. Join down below. It's going to do it for the streamer episode, these positive matchups episode, guys. Good luck in the finals. Let's go. You came here for a reason. You did not come this far to come this far. Okay, good luck. Goodbye.